Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another build guide showcase. Today we are going to talk about a build called Herald of Decay. It was given this name through Reddit, I believe. Might be wrong on that, but I think it was Reddit because we ran out of build ideas because I'm making too many builds apparently. So I made a quick Google of Path of Exile hipster builds, and this is one of the builds that came up. I couldn't find any guides on it or any finished builds. I only saw a concept of it. The concept is to have Herald of Thunder linked with a decay support, and then you, with certain mechanics, you make sure you kill something that is counted as a shocked enemy, and then your Herald of Thunder will consistently be running. But you don't do damage with Herald of Thunder, rather you deal damage by Herald of Thunder applying decay, but that only applies to one target, so you make sure that enemy explodes, such as something like Profane Bloom from Occultist. Or in this case, we are utilizing Obliteration ones, two of them actually. And something to keep in mind for this, if you're going to play this build, is the fact that they don't add the modifiers additively to one another, so it's actually not 40% chance to explode, dealing a quarter of the max life as chaos damage, but rather 20% 2 times to do this. So what I'm going to do in this guide is to show you some gameplay footage, and then we'll talk about the mechanics. I did kill Shaper with this build, but it's not something that I would recommend having the build designed to do, because it's basically just a clear speed build. I seriously doubt this build will ever be able to do Uber Elder, for example. So as you can see here, we're starting off our kills, and then what we're doing is we're literally just running. I did have some minor issues with single target, for example on Blight bosses. We're going to see if we can do that, but it was fairly fine as long as you had your Wither Totems out. But other than that, you just run, and everything just explodes. As you can see, it's pretty smooth to play, pretty comfortable. And if you encounter a big pack, you always have the possibility to use the Vol Blight, which is in a 4-link. And the Blight itself is being used for single target or bigger, thicker enemies kind of defense. So you just help out with the extra damage there. Other than that, you just run and run. I'm going to show you 2 maps for gameplay, and after we're done with that, I'm going to show you the skill tree, the leveling parts of it, as well as going through how to get this build started in general and the mechanical design of it to actually get it going. I actually found the build very interesting to play. So, for example, for Blights here, you put down the Wither Totem, which is a linked flag. We can talk about links later, but you can see that there's multiple totems. You don't necessarily have to do much, especially if all of the gates or all the sisters spawning in the same location. You should just be able to stand like this, but you can speed up the process by using Blight if you want to. Ooh, they hurt actually in this map. As you can see here, there's more enemies spawning, so I put the totems down here. And as soon as something dies, there's a 20% chance times 2 to actually explode and kill basically everything in its close proximity. As you can see there, everything died. It just skyrockets or chains this damage, which is actually very beautiful to see. And that's how you deal with bosses in general, especially in blighted maps as well. So what I did was I tried to not kill a boss as soon as they spawned. I'd rather wait for them to get a lot of enemies around them, because in more cases than not, I was able to actually pretty much one-shot bosses by having enemies around them die. And I found that very, very fun to do. But in general, that's always going to require you to have a bunch of enemies stacked up, spawned around you, and then you can actually pop them, if you will. But that also does require the boss to have ads around them. So other than that, it's basically, this is how the build's played. You can run and run and run. I've chucked together a approach using Comic Calamity. I wanted to use another chess piece before, but if you want to 6-link your Decay approach, then this is kind of the deal you have to go with. And that's about it. It's the playstyle is this. It's not much more to say when it comes to the playstyle. I will show you the boss though, since the build is not designed to do bosses, and we'll see how that looks for you. First, we're going to clear this map, moving into the corner. And then heading over here. Budget for this build is actually pretty cheap. Pantheons is a matter of personal taste. Bandits, you kill them all. Same thing here, you pop all Blight, you spam some Blight, then the boss will die eventually. It's not a great damage for the bosses, but it does do the job. So in between this and the next map, I can talk about the mechanics of how we're killing a shocked enemy. So basically, we have Storm's Gift, which is a synthesized item. What this one does, at the bottom modifiers, the 2 rows there, enemies you kill are shocked. So what this does is that when you kill an enemy, it will be counted as if you killed this shocked, which will start your Herald of Thunder, which will then kickstart the whole mechanic of the build, which is very, very, very nice to play. Other unique items, Common Calamity for example, we're using this to make sure that mana reservation of our Herald is 45%, and we are using a Malevolence aura, so we have 5% mana, which means we can't afford to resummon the golems. So if that happens, turn off an aura and then resummon the golem. I have been considering to actually change the golem into a stone golem for some life regen, because with this HP it's a bit so-so. And speaking of HP, this is also something we can talk about. You have Mind Over Matter. Quick calculation on 30% Mind Over Matter is done through basic algebra. I usually include these in my forum threads. I'm going to show you how this is calculated in this video. So basic algebra is that you take 3 divided by 7, being 10, which is 100% of your HP, which gives you 0.428571, etc., etc. So then you take, to calculate how much effective HP or how much mana unreserved you need for Mind Over Matter. Well, I'm fucking stupid. This build's not using Mind Over Matter. This is what happens when you make too many builds. Sorry, this build's not using Mind Over Matter. It's the next one that might use it. Oh god. Shit, I lost track of control completely what I was talking about. Seriously. But that's how you do calculate your Mind Over Matter, if you wondered. Let's keep going with the next map. 45 mana. 45% reservation from that, and then 50 from Malevolence. Mind Over Matter on 5%. Sorry, I just woke up. The next build we're going to do is going to use Mind Over Matter, where we'll show you how to calculate it. Anyways, you can't use Mind Over Matter with this build. Moving on. Let's see. So yeah, the playstyle is this. Let me double check so I'm not missing what I'm talking about now. Right, another unique item we're using is the Witchfire Brew Flask to create a Despair Despair Aura from the flask itself. Holy shit, okay. Let's just keep going. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Where else was I? Right, so the build has 4.6k HP in this one. Right, I decided not to use Mind Over Matter for this build, because instead we're going for Phase Acrobatics and Acrobatics. To give us some dodge chance instead. But the build is not very tanky either way. I've been able to kill both tier 15 and 16 maps with this, despite being level 84. So it's been pretty comfortable, but I would recommend getting a bit higher level before you start doing the really high tiers. This is a 79 area level map, so that's about it for this one. You know what, let's skip the blight for this map just to get the build guide continued, especially after that build. Let's call it mistake. So same thing with the bosses here, just dodge this shit, and then it's down, and that's about it. We could actually run out and finish the blight at this point as well, I reckon. So yeah, that's the mechanics of it. So you kill a shocked enemy, and you will have your Herald of Thunder proc and your Herald of Decay. You have Malevolence Aura, you have Herald of Thunder, obviously. The other items was the Obliteration ones, Storm's Gift as a pair of glove, as well as the Common Calamity. The other unique, or the last one, is the Witchfire Brew, as I mentioned. And then it's just rare items. And these rare items you can do a couple of different ways. If you want to keep your budget down, you just go for life and defense. However, for higher tier maps, I do recommend getting something like Chaos Damage Rolled Rings. You can do this with Essence of Envy, I believe. So that they can roll, you know, the 30% plus to chaos damage dealt, which is really, really nice. I have that on both my rings at the moment. And then you can get an amulet, either with Essence of Envy, or you can just get spell damage increase if you want to as well, to help out with the blight as well. And that's looking something like this. The allocation is Hunter's Gambit. You can also allocate something like Dirty Techniques. I'll show you that in the skill tree after this very intuitive blight mechanic. The other rare items I'm using is a Stygian Vice. However, since the build is focusing on clear speed, you could use something like a Bisco's Leash, for example, which emphasizes on the whole clear speed approach of the build. So that's about it. So I'm going to show you the skill tree, and we'll do that through POV. So basically, you start off with taking fist damage into the chaos damage nodes, the coordination, pick some life up and trickery, because this is 20% generic damage increase. Entropy, Fangs of the Viper. Now, if you want to level with Blight or Essence Drain or Contagion or even Soul Rend, then I would recommend going into Method of Madness quite quickly. Skip the dual slots till much later, and I usually want to rush down to face Acro to get the defense as you're leveling and pick up Herbalism once you're down here. I usually skip these nodes, especially the Frenzy Charges, till you get Swift Killer. And the Frenzy Charge nodes is actually worth as much as a jewel with 2 damage modifiers. So I would recommend prioritizing these, because 2 damage modifiers and a life roll on a jewel is quite expensive. If you feel that you're squishy, then sure, go for the jewel slots instead. But this is not until after you picked up Swift Killer. Then you continue through Resourcefulness, Lethal Assault, and Cold Hard Calculation, and pick up Growth and Decay, Written in Blood, as well as Atrophy. I usually skip Melding early on because it's not worth that much, and rather rush into Hardened Soul, as well as going up here for Golem Commander, Full Preparation, Corruption, and also the extra life of Quick Recovery and Discipline and Training. So that's about the skill tree. The Ascendancy nodes, I personally usually start with Swift Killer because I want the Frenzy Charges, because it kind of speeds you up a bit. But Patient Reaper into Prolonged Pain, and then Swift Killer is another really good strategy to go for, and end with Ghost Dance, because this is just for extra clear speed purposes. You could go Weave the Arcane, not really needed for this type of build, but you can absolutely do it if you want to, as you get more cast attacks before Blight, but it's not really that necessary. So that's the skill tree. The skill gem to finish off the build. We are using a Malevolence Aura, as mentioned. I have a Swift Affliction, Control Destruction, Efficacy, together with a Vol Blight. And this is very important that I'm strictly only using Vol Blight. Sometimes I use Blight, not really needed, and that's more for the kickstart of the build at the early stage of the map. But this can be done with pretty much any ability if you so wish. I'm also using a Wither, Spell Totem, and multiple totems, as I mentioned before. This is to increase your damage dealt versus bosses. I am using a Golem, Portal, faster casting, Summon Lightning Golem. You can have Flame Dash if you want to. You can use whatever you want. You can change the golems if you want to. You don't necessarily have to use 2 golems if you don't want to either. You can use, I have Flame Dash here instead with increased duration and Withering Step and Efficacy. So I could switch it over there because of mana lacking, and I don't want to bring this down to level 1 gem. I'm actually keeping it here because I can't really afford it if I put it together with the faster casting support, for example. So the Wither Step is actually really nice because it gives you phasing and also applies Withered debuffs as you're running, so you don't have to use the spell, the Wither Totem as you're playing through the map. The Herald Thunder is linked with Decay, Added Chaos, Void Manipulation, and Efficacy, as well as Swift Affliction. So that's actually pretty straightforward. So that's about the build. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. If you played a similar version or have any other ideas of how this can be done, or any other mechanical approaches to kickstart such a build, let me know in the comments below. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. They're all listed in the descriptions below. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that like button, subscribe for more content. Until next time, boys, stay safe, keep rocking.